Oh boy, how the timeline of WWE would have looked like if this show was actually good. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of WrestleMania Review Series. And this time we are looking at WrestleMania 29. Twice in a lifetime at WrestleMania NJ, NY. WWE kept pretending this was in New York, but it was in New Jersey. MetLife Stadium, big arena. I still remembered the year before. They were giving away 100 free tickets. I remember that whole story and everything. But man, I look back at this show and I remember watching it live the first time. I was like, this show is kind of bad. Outside of that one match that we got, but nothing really said WrestleMania. And given the circumstances and the outcome of a lot of these things, the timeline of WWE would have looked so different if this show was actually booked better. For example, the big thing out of this show is that CM Punk should have main evented WrestleMania. How different would that have been? He probably would have never left. He probably would have never gone to AEW. He probably would have retired sooner. He probably would have retired in, I don't know, 2015, 16, around that range. Twice in a lifetime, I couldn't think of any other match that we could have done if we weren't going to have CM Punk in the main event. Really, the only reason why we got Rock and Cena too is because the first one was such a success, biggest pay-per-view buy rate of all time. So naturally, WWE said we gotta continue this and we gotta do it again. Which, in a business standpoint, I can understand, but this is no excuse as to why the rest of the card was not as good or as strong. Because you actually had a good card here. It's just that they did not do a good job at giving you time to invest yourself in these matches. We don't even have America the Beautiful, so that doesn't even show you that this was WrestleMania outside of how amazing this arena was. Fun fact that I caught on: every other Mania that ends in 9 is either a awful show or a phenomenal show. 9, 19, 29, 39. You guys see a pattern? That means WrestleMania 49 is gonna suck. But anyways, let's just talk about the wrestling here. So the first match was not that bad, outside of the finish. It was The Shield versus Randy Orton, Sheamus, and The Big Show. This match was a solid match. It was a great way to showcase The Shield for the first time at WrestleMania, beating 3 world champions. Three guys who hated each other, but they decided to form an alliance just to beat The Shield. Of course, they failed to do so. And we all thought that Randy Orton was going to turn heel. Instead, it was Big Show for the 100th time, which is stupid because in the summer he turns back into a babyface. So it made this heel turn really pointless, and they should have just stuck their guns and given Randy Orton that heel turn that everybody's been begging up to this point, which, funny enough, he turns heel in the summer anyways. This match basically showcased all three members of the Shield the best way possible, and I can't really fault it for that. This was a good match. I just didn't like the fact that Big Show ended up turning on them yet again. Then we get to Ryback and Mark Henry, and I remember I was hyped for this match because at the time I actually was a big Ryback fan. Too bad he ruined his own career by talking all that smack. And then Mark Henry was a very entertaining heel. I will say that this match would have been a lot stronger if we still had that World's Strongest Man persona. Also, Ryback has just lost his streak up to this point, so the momentum kind of ran out. And if this was in other scenarios, maybe this match would have been way more exciting. But it was just a filler match. And then to top it off, the whole story was, can Ryback lift Mark Henry? And we were excited for that shell shock, only for Mark Henry to grab the ropes. He falls on Ryback's head. I guess he gets concussed. 1, 2, 3. Everybody's confused. This is how Mark Henry wins. Not even like a body slam or anything. And then he was about to do the body slam, only for Ryback to finally pick him up and do the shell shock, which made you question, why did we do it this way? Why couldn't we just have Ryback struggle to give Mark Henry the shell shock until the end, where he finally gives him the shell shock and wins the match? It buried Ryback. And keep in mind, the following pay-per-view, he's fighting for the WWE Championship. And then Mark Henry just has a strap match with Sheamus. It does lead to that awesome retirement speech that he gave. Other than that, Pretty disappointing match. Then we get for the WWE Tag Team Championships, Team Hell No versus Dolph Ziggler and Big E. And this was actually Big E's debut on the main roster. He had debuted like as a character after the Slammy Awards when he attacks John Cena, which led to really nothing. He was just a bodyguard for Dolph Ziggler. He had his first match here at WrestleMania, and this Big E was not ready. This isn't the New Day Big E that we know and love today. This is just like a random character. He wasn't even his own character. He still came out to Dolph Ziggler's music. He was just a background in the back. He wasn't ready, but he showed you that he was a good wrestler here, but he just wasn't ready for that big push. Team Hell No was already a really solid tag team. We all thought that this was going to be their breakup. I love the callback to 18 seconds with AJ Lee kissing Dolph Ziggler. Daniel Bryan kicks him. 1-2 kick out. It was a great callback. This was so far the best match of the night, which ain't saying much because this match was only 6 minutes, but man, did they kill it. And this was the start of the Yes movement because we all knew that Daniel Bryan deserved way much better, and sure enough, he gets his flowers next year. So I'm very excited to talk about that when we get to it. This match, like I said, okay, pretty good for what it was, and I was happy that they won, and then they had their Yes moment. Obviously, they were gonna do Team Hell No versus the Shield, but they weren't ready to make them individuals just quite yet. They still wanted to keep them strong as one. Then we get the biggest what the F moment in the history of WrestleMania. We get Fandango beating the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, the first ever undisputed WWE champion, Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho hated this. Everybody involved except Fandango hated this. And honestly, I hated too. This had potential if Fandango was going to at least be a mid-card champion. But he didn't even get close to that. He became a jobber. Nobody talks about Fandango to this day. When you think Fandango, you think of movie tickets. The whole match was just Chris Jericho slapping him around. Fandango kept dancing, being ridiculous. Eventually, they actually have a decent match at Extreme Rules, but this one was just embarrassing. For it to be at WrestleMania, your first match, you win, but then you look like a idiot, just dancing around, not even throwing some good moves. You just been beat up for most of the match. And Fandango could have been a solid mid-carder. I think Chris Jericho's more disappointed that Fandango never became something more than just this goofy, silly character. And this was just a wrong spot to put Fandango in. And we can all agree about that. And I didn't like this at all. I was just flabbergasted that Chris Jericho couldn't do anything else. He couldn't have fought for the IC belt. He wasn't in the world title picture. There was so much he could have done with Chris Jericho. This was like the last thing he should have been doing. Then we get a P. Diddy concert. Moving on. Then, and I can't believe I'm saying this, for the World Heavyweight Championship, Alberto Del Rio versus Jack Swagger. Now, I did see why Alberto Del Rio was a world champion. I do think that he doesn't know how to wrestle like a world champion, let alone a babyface world champion. Jack Swagger was having the best run of his life, and then he ruined it by smoking marijuana and getting caught by the cops, and he got arrested. Basically got debunked after this because of that. Not only that, but people saw the We the People gimmick as very controversial. It even made headlines, and it was not a good rep for the WWE, even though they were getting noticed by the outside viewer. And they just dropped the whole act because of how strong people's beliefs are. Because Zeb Colter was just hard headed, super American, hating the immigrants, hating all kinds of races. I see a lot of faces, not like mine. That's exactly how he sounded. The whole We the People was actually very entertaining. Jack Swagger got cheered, and honestly, this match and feud could have worked if we had a stronger Latino babyface. Not Alberto Del Rio. He was just meant to be a heel. Alberto Del Rio just never worked as a babyface. You mean to tell me that Alberto Del Rio, this rich man who already had a wrestling uncle in the industry giving him everything, he was just not a good babyface. Like, if this was Damian Priest today, this feud would have worked because he started like from the hood, being homeless, struggling, but Alberto Del Rio was given everything. So this story kind of didn't make sense for Alberto Del Rio. As far as the match went, it was fine. I will say this: Jack Swagger getting a jobber entrance was BS. How do you have a world title match and one of your guys in the match is not getting their entrance shown? I remember they showed the video package. It was a good video package. Welcome to Jack Swagger's America, we the people. Only for Jack Swagger to already be in the ring, he had come with like a truck, and he would have probably gotten cheered, and so that's why they didn't have him in the ring. He would have been cheered, and when I saw Jack Swagger, I remember as a kid, I was like, "Oh, Jack Swagger's gonna lose." I was 14 when this show came out, so that tells you my knowledge of wrestling, how bad it was getting. I can't believe this is a world title match, and the fact that we didn't get the cash in here, we had to wait till the next night to get the cash in. It kind of sucked, and it really could have made Dolph Ziggler a main event player if he cashed in at WrestleMania, because there's no way they're gonna mess up Dolph Ziggler, right? Right? Now, everything up to this point was either 10 minutes or shorter. Now we get on to the 20-minute lengthy matches of the night. Starting off with The Undertaker versus CM Punk. The story here would have just been Undertaker and CM Punk. Undertaker defending his streak. CM Punk was like, "Oh, we're going Undertaker could have been 25-0. He could have been 50-0. He could have been 100-0. That could have been the storyline. However, when this feud got started, Paul Bearer died, and they used that as a storyline. And I know there's a side where CM Punk has even said like that was very uncomfortable, but I had to do what I had to do. I remember thinking back, CM Punk could have been in the main event, but they did this instead. And as awesome as this match was, as good as it is a little overrated. I will say that. I do feel like this was CM Punk's consolation prize. You didn't get the main event of WrestleMania. You're not going to be in the WWE title picture, but we'll give you The Undertaker. If you fight The Undertaker at WrestleMania, you're basically a made man. If the streak was never going to end, Undertaker should have retired at 20-0 last year. This year, he kind of came back just for the sake of, okay, the boss needs me. I'll be here. So I knew deep down someday the streak was going to end. I even thought it was going to be this time around because CM Punk was already like a new name. But then if you think about it, this was around the time I started reading the dirt sheets. I knew that CM Punk was going to take some time off. So I didn't believe that CM Punk was going to win. It would have been cool, but yeah, it's what it was. There's a big botch in the match where it's nobody's fault. It's the announce table's fault. It didn't break. CM Punk does a dive to the Undertaker, and then the table didn't break. But then later, Triple H and Brock Lesnar tap the same table, and it breaks easily. But man, that looked like it hurt. I love the Living Color entrance with CM Punk. Undertaker's entrance with the hands like this. I really like that they used the urn as a weapon, like as a secret tool to try to get the Undertaker to break, because this was really the Paul Bearer tribute match. I will say that this was the best match of the show. but it's not some 5-star classic that people say it is. For the 6th year in a row, Undertaker steals the show. So from WrestleMania 24 to WrestleMania 29, Undertaker had my favorite match of the night. That's saying a lot for the Undertaker. It's too bad that after this, we'll get to next year. As a kid, this next match I used to say was the match of the night. Looking at back older, it was good, but it wasn't great. And that is Triple H versus Brock Lesnar in a no holds barred match where had Triple H lost, he would have been forced to retire. That's crazy. Paul Heyman was in two separate feuds involved, heavily involved in both men's matches, only for him to go 0-2 at WrestleMania 29. This was pretty much 50-50 booking. The next match was gonna be the more important one at Extreme Rules, which was honestly the best match of their um, trilogy. This one, I will say, is not bad, but it is their worst one. This one had, again, that botch with the table being tapped and then it breaking. It's infamous for Brock Lesnar throwing Triple H and then Brock Lesnar going, oh! Also, Triple H had this entrance where he had like this ice smoke, and then there's like ice all over his stomach, and even Brock Lesnar was like, "What the hell?" This match was good. It was the weakest of the three. I didn't like the fact that Triple H was starting to use the Camaro lock, and I was afraid that Brock was gonna tap out. I knew Triple H was gonna win, even with his career on the line. I'm like, there's no way. John Cena had already beat Brock, so it was just a matter of time before Triple H beat Brock. Shawn Michaels didn't really do much outside of getting F5 and gives Paul Heyman the sweet chin music. Good match, but like I said, it wasn't something to run home about. It was an okay match. Out of the three main matches, this was definitely the weakest for me. WWE Hall of Fame class of 2013, we have the headliner Bruno Sammartino, along with Mick Foley, Bob Backlund, Trish Stratus, Donald Trump, and Booker T. Fine class. I think everybody here deserves it. No tag teams. I'm actually shocked they didn't put Harlem Heat in it, given that they were in New York, New Jersey. Trish Stratus, one of my favorite female wrestlers of all time. Bob Backlund, one of the longest running WWE champions of all time. Mick Foley, we all know and love Mick Foley to this day. I love that speech where he gives the elbow to Chris Jericho. CM Punk does the 3 count. And then, of course, Bruno Sammartino, a combined 13 years as WWE champion. That's insane. Donald Trump, who? Okay, fine. We'll talk about Donald Trump. Yes, he did a lot for the business, helping it grow, even though he got booed here. Fine class. Moving on. Now, the main event for the WWE Championship. It's The Rock and John Cena in Twice in a Lifetime. Crazy enough that this entire WrestleMania, only 3 belts were on the line. Wait till next year, only 2 belts get defended. As a business, it made sense why they did this match. The story made sense. The promo package made sense. But it would have made more sense if John Cena genuinely had a downward spiral after WrestleMania 28. Let's look back at John Cena's 2012. He beat Brock Lesnar. He beat Kane. He main evented almost every pay-per-view, sometimes over CM Punk. Won Money in the Bank. So what was really the bad year that John Cena had? They showed you highlights of him getting beat up. They pretend that this loss to The Rock cost John Cena his divorce, even though we all knew he was a cheating bastard. It was not a good story if you were telling it correctly. This should have really been John Cena being at such a downward spiral that he almost quits until he gets a chance to fight The Rock. But this wasn't the story it was telling. And then to top it off, nothing really happened outside of John Cena winning. It would have been cool if this is where John Cena finally turned heel. Funny enough, he's aligned himself with The Rock now. He should have been the one behind the Shield. Like, there's this whole story of who helped bring in the Shield. And wouldn't it have been cool if John Cena was the one behind the Shield this whole time? They dropped the ball. Let's talk about the match. I like when they do callbacks to the last match and how they learn from their mistakes on the last match. John Cena doing the people's elbow and then stopping himself when The Rock gets up. The Rock mocking the "you can't see me," does it incorrectly, but then he gets up. There was a point where The Rock gets hit with a rock bottom by John Cena, and I thought that was going to be the end of the match. This was good when it was trying to be a match and not a finisher fest match. And it's probably why The Rock actually got injured and they had to postpone Hercules. Remember that drama? Anyways, when John Cena won, it was so abrupt. Like, they were reversing move after move, only for John Cena to finally hit another FU. 1, 2, 3, and it was like, what? I do enjoy the match. I do wish we had more of an actual match and not a finisher fest match. And plus, the crowd was already dead up to this point because this was the start of WrestleMania being way too long. I hated the whole story of like they respect each other now when they were going at each other's guts, talking bad about each other's promo ability, their note writing on their arms, them looking like a big fat bowl of fruity pebbles. Like, that was just watered down or not even brought up at all. All this was, can John Cena finally beat The Rock? And sure enough, he did. I would have loved it if he won by cheating. This would have impacted the show a lot more, and we would have accepted it more if John Cena turned heel up to this point. But no, they went the route of him being this underdog, finally going babyface, full-time super babyface, and people weren't buying it, and it really brings the show down. Initially, I wrote down this show as a C minus, but talking back about it, I'm giving this a D plus because really the matches weren't terrible, but the follow up to a lot of these things made you question, like, why did they do certain things? Why did Triple H beat Brock Lesnar? And why would he put his career on the line if he wasn't going to retire? Why did John Cena beat The Rock clean without the help of anybody? It was like, I don't know what they were thinking. The only thing they truly got right was putting over the Shield, if you think about it. The booking aspect of it just made no sense. So that's why I'm going to give it a D+. Anyways, we're going to move on to a better show next time with WrestleMania 30. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and get ready for WrestleMania. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you next time.